Cade Cunningham dropped 33 points. The Detroit Pistons held the Washington Wizards to under 90 points and got their 13th win of the season. We'll break down this game in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kook Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kook Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. Later on, we'll talk about Jalen Duren and how he played in this game and how he flashes his potential, not just on one end of the floor. And then there's an area that a Piston needs to improve upon badly. We'll talk about that later on as well. But obviously, we're going to start off with the Pistons getting their 13th win of the season, defeating the Washington Wizards in Washington, a place that for a while, actually for a few years, the Pistons just couldn't win in Washington. Now this year they've done it twice, I believe. It's funny that the Wizards are the team that are responsible for 2 of the Pistons' 13 wins because Kyle Kuzma tweeted out, that whole, at this point, it's just don't be that team. And ever since that tweet, they've lost now twice to the Detroit Pistons. So, kind of are that team after saying you didn't want to be that team. But anyways, yes, the Pistons get this win. They held the Wizards to under 90 points scored in this game. And as I'm recording this podcast, Shams just tweeted out breaking news with the Detroit Pistons. Quentin Grimes will miss the rest of the season due to he'll be in rehab, lingering. Okay, my fault. Let me just recap that again. Detroit Pistons guard Quentin Grimes will miss the rest of the season to rehab, lingering muscle soreness related to knee injury suffered in January. No surgery required, and bone bruise and knee has healed. Grimes is eligible for an extension prior to next season. I don't think he'll be getting that extension. The Pistons have barely got a look at him at all. He's barely played for the Pistons at all since coming over to the team, which is incredibly disappointing because getting a look at him with this squad, and as well as Fontecchio, even though you got a much larger sample of Fontecchio with the team, but you didn't get any time, Quentin Grimes, really with the Pistons to really evaluate, his fit with the team and how he played. And in his time playing, he couldn't hit a 3. So I'd be shocked if they gave him an extension this offseason. I really don't see that happening for him. But we'll probably talk about that in a future episode. Anyways, let's get back now to the Pistons' win against the Washington Wizards. They held them to 87 points. A lot of this had to do with the fact that Jordan Poole could not hit a shot for his life. He shot 3 of 15 in this game. Kyle Kuzma could not hit a shot for his life. He shot 5 of 22 in this game. They combined to shoot around like 21% from the field. Both of them combined shot 1 of 14 from 3. So those guys completely sold. They had Piston jerseys on in this game. So that's the main culprit for why the Pistons were able to pull this one out. At halftime, the Pistons had a 19-point lead, played an incredible first half, but in the third quarter, they kind of let up a little bit. And Cade really had to carry him in that third quarter. He went 6 of 11 in that third quarter, had 13 points. He kept the Pistons in it, or not in it, but kept the lead at bay for what it's worth. But when Cade left the game in that third quarter, Monty Williams decided to stagger him and Jaden Ivey. And the Ivey non-Cade minutes didn't go very well. Cade came back into the game down 1 point, but the Pistons were able to close it out in the fourth quarter. Cade went just complete shot chuck mode and missed quite a few bunnies. Despite that, though, the Pistons were able to get a win against the Washington Wizards. Cade, I thought, played what was a good and also, he played a great game and then also played a terrible game, the same time. Incredibly efficient the first 3 quarters, incredibly efficient. And then just the efficiency went completely out the window in the fourth quarter. Because I don't want to spoil too much of the last segment of the podcast, but I left this game saying, wow, he played a great game, and also walking away saying, wow, he could have played a lot better of a game. whatever. He shot 13 of 33 in this game. He had 33 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He saw DeJounte Murray the night before and said, "Hold my beer." Not really, though, because DeJounte Murray still outdid him. But he obviously saw some inspiration with DeJounte Murray the night before. Obviously, you'd like to see the efficiency be a lot better. And he easily could have had 40 points in this game. I'll go ahead and spoil what we're going to talk about in the final segment. If he would have finished a few just easy bunnies, like easy bunnies, he would have easily had 40 plus, maybe even 45 points in this game. He missed quite a few bunnies in this game. And he spoke about it after the game in the interview. He said he blew a lot of layups at the rim, a lot of bunnies that he wish he could have had back. I don't know what's going on. We'll save it for the final segment. But the Pistons were able to win. Cade led them there. And also Jalen Duren had an incredible game, who we'll talk about in the second segment. 20 points, 17 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks, 9 of 11 shooting. Didn't get much else from the rest of the team. Jane Ivey continues to struggle. 5 of 17 from the floor, just not playing well at all. And what was most disappointing, I'd say, is the fact that Monty decided to stagger him and Cade in the second half when he didn't in the first half, to try to keep the lead at bay and kind of, hold the Pistons at, above water. And he was not able to do that. The Pistons lost his minutes and they ended up losing the lead with him out there. So I think that was the most disappointing part, but doesn't matter. The Pistons now have 13 wins, big time for the Pistons to get another win. Every win they get in this final stretch of the year is a big time win, because every win may be their last win. Every win may be the last time they win this season. They are now 1 game behind the Washington Wizards for the second worst record in the entire NBA. And yes, it's quite disappointing that that's something like I just uttered, that the race to not being the last team, the worst team in the NBA, is what the Pistons are engaged in right now. But they are 1 game behind the Wizards now for the second worst record. They got the Grizzlies coming up, the Hawks coming up, the Grizzlies again coming up, then the Nets. So these are 4 games they really could easily win, I think. I think they can beat the Grizzlies. I think they can beat the Nets. They already have. I think they can beat the Hawks without Trae Young, even though DeJounte's been playing really well over the last 15 games. I think they could win quite a few of these games, like 3 or 4. And in best case scenario, somehow God blesses Pistons and the Pistons fan base, they win all 4 of them. All of a sudden, the Pistons on a 5-gamers. But that's probably very unlikely to happen. They can win a few of these games. They should beat the Grizzlies both times, I think. That should be the expectation, at the very least. So we'll see what happens. But the Pistons, good win on the road. Not the most clean game. At times it did look messy on both ends. There's a few times in this game, a few sequences where you're like, yeah, these are the 2 worst teams in the NBA. But I mean, the Pistons are just trying to get every win they possibly can. And however you can get them, you get them. And it is what it is. So good Pistons win is what it is. Let me know what you guys thought about this game. The Pistons getting their 13th win against the Washington Wizards. Let me know how you guys feel in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, Jalen Duren flashes his potential in this game against the Washington Wizards. I'm not just talking about one side of the floor. We'll talk about that when we come back. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you'll get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit, only available to U.S. customers at ebaymotors.com. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. These games have been the games where Cade and Duren have played. I believe it's the last 2 games or last 2 or 3. they've been interesting because I think you're seeing like in real time, like obviously the discussion around the Pistons, I think over the last like few weeks in the fan base in the community has been who of the core four are they going to move on from? Who are they going to trade? You know, are they going to make a trade? Are they going to break them up? Are they going to make a big move in the offseason? Like this is like the main topic I'd say going on in the Pistons community right now. And for good reason, obviously. It's quite obvious why that's talked about. And there's obviously very legit concerns and questions about whether this core four can fit. Like all this stuff is legit. But in these games with Cade and Duren, I think you're seeing like one of the questions or one of the dilemmas you potentially are witnessing with the core four is that Cade and Duren have incredible chemistry in the pick and roll. Absolutely incredible chemistry in the pick and roll. And we'll talk about Jalen Duren specifically, obviously, in just a second. But you're seeing those two guys have incredible chemistry. Cade, obviously, we know how much he loves having a lob threat in the pick and roll. And when you put Cade and Duren in pick and roll with spacing around them, which the Pistons don't really have spacing right now. This is like their best, dress up job. This fake job they have of putting spacing out there. This is the best chance they got. And it isn't even really spacing. But if you put the three theoretical shooters out there around them, they can do their thing. And even with guys who aren't actually spacers, they've been able to do their thing. And it's looked, I'd say, fine at the very least. And most of the time, I'd say really good. Them two guys together, they've looked good. The problem is if you then put Asar Thompson on the floor with how Jaden Ivey's been shooting, it is one sniper at the four position. Let's say if it's Simone Fontecchio or whatever. Is that enough spacing to really make up for that? And I think for what you've seen this year, in the minutes the Pistons fan base has witnessed with Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham, and Asar on the floor at the same time, I think there's very legit questions and concerns about whether that's something you can do. How much spacing will you have? Will it be enough? But you're not seeing that problem now because the Pistons are playing, for example, Cade, Ivey, Duren, Tosan, and Troy Brown Jr. Maybe Tosan can't shoot, but there's not enough film out there on him, not enough scouting out there on him to where teams are like with Asar, teams are straight up after like 12 games, they're straight up sitting in the middle of the key. Like it's different. I'm sure that's probably like if Tosan played a full year, that's maybe how they would treat him because he's not shooting well either. But you guys get the point. Anyways, to move forward with this, I just thought that was interesting to bring up. But Jalen Duren has played a really good game against his Washington Wizards team, and it wasn't just on the offensive end of the floor. I thought the biggest part of this game for Jalen Duren was how well he played defensively. And it's crazy that we talk about this small of a sample size so often in this community, but I think that just showcases like how important and how like I think it showcases how important. I think it showcases everyone's ability to understand the key to the Pistons being able to win a lot of games. And I think it also highlights how rare it's been and how bad he's been defensively outside of these three games that I'm about to mention at the beginning of the year. When the Pistons started this year 2-on-1, it was, look, Cade played well in those games, but they won those games, and we said this at the time on the podcast. They won those games because Jalen Duren was dominating the game defensively. He was playing exceptional on the defensive end in those three games. One game they lost to the Miami Heat in a close game, but he was playing fantastic on that end. Very active, protecting the rim, looked locked in. And if he would have played like that the entire season, the Pistons definitely have more wins. I don't know if they're at 20 wins. Like, I don't think he's adding that many wins, but they'd have more than 13. But he's been so bad outside of those 13 games or those three games that's really killed the Pistons. I know, there's some talk about whether it's because of his injuries. I don't really buy that. But either way, the point is that he was, I thought, really good in this game defensively against the Wizards. Again, just looking at the pure stocks in this game, 3 steals and 3 blocks, 6 total stocks. I thought he was incredibly active on that end of the floor. He took a lot more chances, I'd say. I think that was the biggest thing I noticed around the rim defensively. He took a lot more chances at the rim. He was like active as a rim protector. There's a lot of times this year, I'd say more often than not, where he's just like, I don't know if it's because he doesn't want to take a chance or if he's just not like engaged enough. I more so lean towards that he's just not engaged most of the time with this answer. But tonight, that was not the case. He was going after shots, and there was a lot of shots he just didn't block, but a lot of them he forced misses because he actually tried to get those shots, and he ended up with 3 blocks tonight. So I thought that was great. I don't know if it had anything to do with going up against former teammate Marvin Bagley, who Marvin Bagley played a good game in this game too. But I thought he played exceptionally well on the defensive end of the floor, and that played a big part for the Detroit Pistons winning this game. But then obviously on the offensive end of the floor, I mean, 5 offensive rebounds. Him and Cade in the pick and roll were just really, really effective, especially in the first 3 quarters. In that fourth quarter, like I said, Cade got to the rim on numerous occasions and just wasn't able to finish easy shots. I don't know what to tell you with that. But the looks that they generate, like the process of their pick and roll, I don't think anyone has questioned that. Like, I think everyone has like a level of belief. I think most people have a level of like very strong belief in Cade Duren pick and roll producing good quality shots for your half court offense. And that's what they did tonight against the Washington Wizards. The Pistons didn't shoot the ball very well at all in this game. 41% from the field, 25% from deep. I think if they shot better on threes, if they generated more threes and just shot better on threes, that pick and roll tandem would have generated even more points per possession than it did tonight. Chimezie Metu is playing 26 minutes for them. He shot 0 of 4 on threes. Jane Ivey shot 1 of 6 on threes. The only guys who really provided any type of spacing in this game was Cade, and I'm pretty sure both his threes were on self-created looks, and Evan Fournier. So I think Evan Fournier is really the only. Oh, him and Troy Brown. I think the Pistons literally had 3 catch and shoot makes from 3 tonight. I'm almost 100% sure that's the case, and that's just not a recipe for success. That's why the Pistons only scored 96 points in this game. But they're dealing with injuries, and they're not playing very many good shooters at all right now. So I guess that's kind of to be expected, unless Cade and Ivy have like a super hot night from 3 and they take like 9-10 attempts or something. Outside of that, you're not going to get that many threes up. But yeah, Duren played extremely well. And I loved what I saw from him defensively. I really wish you saw more of it from him. It's not the fact that he needs to have 3 blocks in a game. Again, it's just him being engaged at the rim, him going after shots at the rim. He can't just sit there and let guys, have easy pathways to the rim and not contest those shots. He needs to be contesting these shots at the rim. And sometimes guys will finish anyways. But the fact that you're contesting them, it provides more deterrence than you just sitting there and watching. So, and that's what you saw tonight from him. And it really helped the Pistons beat the Wizards. So, want to give JD props. And especially, like I said at the beginning of this, that over the last few weeks, a lot of the talk has been who's going to be traded. I can see Pistons fans struggling with that conversation, and maybe it's nobody. Maybe Pistons fans and everyone we're having these conversations for no reason because no one gets moved. But I'm actively watching Pistons fans struggle with this conversation because now you're seeing Cade and Duren really be the main focal points of the team, and just they're running their pick and roll to death. That's really the Pistons half court offense. It's looking like Reggie and Andre Drummond in 2016, 17, 18. They're just running their pick and roll to death, and it's been effective. So now everyone's like, oh, God, man, do we really want to move on from this guy? Would we really want to take a chance at losing this guy? I see the Pistons, Pistons fan base struggling with it. But that's why I mentioned that. Duren played a really good game. Hopefully, to end this season, you see more defensive games like this from him. Offensively, I think he can do this all the time. I'm not concerned about that. I'm not worried about his offensive game. Defensively is where I want to see him continue to play like this. And whether or not he ends up with 6 stocks or 1 stock, just the engagement level and activity on that end is what the Pistons need to see from him. So let me know in the comment section down below. Did you guys feel the same way about Jalen Duren's defense in this game against the Wizards? Again, let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, Cade has to improve in this area. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going on with them. I love Cade. But this has got to get better. He has to get better here. We'll talk about that and what I'm talking about when we come back. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capability to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is always your updating assistant calling for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen information system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. The 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has room up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capability. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds towing, when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop at NissanUSA.com. Then let me tell you about another one of our sponsors, Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you absolutely should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV today. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So Cade, everyone knows that I absolutely love Cade Cunningham. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think he's the Pistons franchise player, obviously. I think he's had a really good season this year for the Detroit Pistons. However, this finishing that his finishing issues lately, what's going on here, we need to talk about that. He is not finishing the ball very well at the rim at all since I believe since the beginning of February. And I want to believe, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I don't know how I'd exactly find those numbers split up within games anyways. But going off purely the eye test, I'd say it's not even so much since the beginning of February. I think just his recent finishing has really tanked his finishing numbers since the beginning of February. I can't find the exact tweet here. That's really frustrating. I'm frustrated about that. But I believe an account by the name of NBA University tweeted out the best finishers since February 1st on a certain amount of attempts, and the worst finishers since the beginning of February on a certain amount of attempts. And Cade was last. I believe he was at 59% at the rim. And I don't know what's going on with that, but he absolutely has to get that corrected. And the thing is, I don't think that, a lot of his finishes in the fourth quarter tonight, those were easy finishes. A lot of those were just, easy layups. Even in the first half, when he had I think he had 21 in the first half, he could have probably had 30 in the first half, but at least 27 in the first half. And because he just blew, easy layups at the rim. And the frustrating thing is, he's hitting contested middies, step back middies. He's in self-created threes. He hit an and one layup in the fourth quarter. He's hitting tough runners over guys. He's hitting tough layups. But then these easy bunnies at the rim, he's just blowing them. He's just missing them. And he's been missing easy layups at the rim over the last few weeks. I don't know what's going on. Now, look, Cade has not been the best finisher in his career, but I've always thought he's been a fine finisher. And usually when you take into account the numbers of like how, the spacing and the quality of the finishes he's having to attempt, he's actually been a really good finisher so far through since February through his career. Even though it could be a lot better, it still could have been better. I never thought he was like a bad finisher. He's always been like a fine finisher to me. He's been good. But like now, over the last few weeks, he's just been like blowing stuff. I don't know what's going on with it. I really, truly don't get what's happening there. But you have to, in order to be a superstar in the NBA, you have to be able to score from all three levels. And I have all the confidence in the world that he'll be able to, which is why that just makes like these last few weeks really like confusing. Like there was a play where he a credible burst beat his guy off the dribble, and no one contested him at the rim, and he really like exploded off the ground for this one. Like I thought he was going to dunk it, which maybe I think that maybe would help him more if he just decided to dunk a lot of these, because a lot of times he's in position to dunk them and he's just going for a layup and then he just blows a bunny. If he just dunked it more often, maybe that would help his finishing. But he had one where he really got up off the ground and extended all the way to the rim, basically tapped out at the rim as well. Tap out is when you hit the backboard. And he just blew it. Like the ball rolled off the rim and just fell. I'm like, what's going on? And I swear to God, the only reason why he didn't have 45 plus points tonight is because he just blew layups. He was 13 of 33 from the floor, 2 of 11 in the fourth. And I like at least 8 of those shots had to have been layups that he blew. He was 2 of 5 from deep, so 40% from three. You take all his 3-point attempts, he was 11 of 28 from twos. And I have to believe at least like 10 of those shots were layups. Like, I don't know what's going on. Cade, I love you. Like, look, I think you're going to be absolutely fantastic, but you got to get a hold of this. I don't know what's going on. Like, it's confusing. It's confusing. It'd be different if, like, the thing is, it'd be different for me if he was going to the rim and not being able to convert, like, semi-contested ones, or, he's never able to get, like, easy looks at the rim. No, he's getting easy looks. He's creating, like, open looks for himself at the rim, and he's just missing them. I truly have no explanation for it at all. Because he wasn't doing this before. Like, he was not doing this before the last few weeks. I think the last few weeks has just been like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And with how he's shooting from deep and how he's shooting from mid-range, if he was just, like, finishing at even, like, an average level on these layups, he would be having such a crazy, like, stat line average over the last, like, few weeks. I seriously think he would have scored 45 points if he made layups tonight, but it is what it is. I don't think it's too big of a concern, because I don't think it's been like this at any other point of his career. I think he's just like, I only explanation I can have is that he's going through the yips right now. Like, it's just mental now. And I do think I had a lot of people, not just even in the Pistons community, I had a lot of people watching the game outside the Pistons community, just in the NBA community, tell me, he's getting fouled through the first 3 quarters. You can see it affecting him. And then after that, he starts, trying to draw a foul or starts looking for fouls and still contact instead of just finishing a layup at the rim, which I think you saw some of that emotion play out in the fourth quarter. He was getting really angry with the refs. He finished one and one and just lost it, just screamed at the mic. I love to see it, or not at the mic, but at the camera, and got real animated. But like, he can't let that like change how first of all, can't let that change how you play. And you can't let that affect his overall finishing at the rim. He has to play the same way, and he has to be focused on just finishing the shot. And again, if these were like tough finishes, then this would be a different story. But I'm not joking, guys. Like, he was missing like easy layups. Cade, you got to do better. And you said it yourself after the game that he was blowing layups at the end of the game and left a few points on the board. Not too concerned about it. It's just really shocking to me, like watching the last few. I'm just really confused. But let me know if you guys are concerned about that, or if you guys just think he's like, for whatever reason, having the yips at the rim on wide open layups. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below, or over on Twitter at @KukaHill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free development on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace out.